Now that we have the existing ground profile, we can go ahead and can start to design the centerline proposed profile for our entrance road. We've got some things we want to maintain at each end of our centerline, like the cross slope of the main road at 2%. We want to be able to tie into our building surface object that's going to be up in the middle of the entrance road. So with these constraints in mind, we're going to go ahead and begin our proposed design. Back in Power Civil, I'm going to go ahead and close my Draw Profile dialog and take a look at my proposed profile, and I'm going to start on the left hand side. Now I want to be able to access some information from Modeler as far as the building elevation. So what I want to do is I want to grab Modeler Analysis Height, and I also want to bring up a tool called Active Chain Control, Civil Geometry Active Chain Control. What Active Chain Control does is it allows me to access my GPK file and access a chain in there, and based on job 200 chain entrance, it sees that there's a profile cell in the file. And what it's done is I'm going to set one of these views, in this case view 1, to the plan view of that chain, and I'm going to set view 2, right click on that and set it to profile. And so what it does is it syncs up my views between plan and profile. And now I'll be able to easily verify and access information in both. On the active chain control, I can dock that. I'll push it down to the bottom. I'm going to grab a tool off of it called Curvilinear Coordinates. This tool allows me to look at station and elevation information in profile, or station and offset information in plan. So between these two tools, the height slope tool from Modeler, the Curvilinear Coordinates, I can precisely get key and values for elevation and station to draw my profile. I'm going to bring up a set of profile tools under Civil, Profiles, Layout Profiles, Component Based. What this is going to allow me to do is give me a set of CAD-like tools to create profiles. Create profile lines and create profile curves. First tool I'm going to use is create profile line by points. I'm going to select that tool. I'm going to zoom in on the left-hand edge of my profile. And what I want to do is I want to start my profile right at the beginning. So I've got the Place Profile Line tool active, and I'm just going to tentative or snap to my first point. And next, I'm going to run that profile line out at a 2% slope. So if I look at my tool settings, I'm going to lock in a -2% for a length of, let's say, 40 feet. So I'm going to continue that 2% slope for 40 feet. So I'm just going to data point to accept that into the file. And you can see it draws a profile line. Next, I'm going to go to the other end of my profile. So I'm going to zoom over to the right-hand side and do the same thing. I'm going to place a profile line from the end, but this time I want to go +2% back in this way. You can see, and I want to do that for 40 feet. And basically I'm just trying to continue the cross section of the roadway, the main road, and at 2% into my entrance road. Next, I'm going to locate a point up in front of the building, and my building elevation I'm going to check that, and I can use the height tool to check my model surface. Or you might know your finished floor elevation of your building, or you may know what the elevation is that you're trying to tie to. In this case, you can also use Modeler to check that. So for example, I could snap to the midpoint of a line there, which reads the elevation 5263.726. Then if I want, I can key that value in and precisely start a tangent line there. Now let's say I want to account for some slope and some height of curve and so forth. So let's say in front of at the midpoint of the building, I want to be at, let's say, elevation 5265. Well, what station is that at the midpoint of the building? So again, I could use the tentative snap, or the midpoint snap, and I could tentative to the midpoint of that entranceway of the building. And I can read in curvilinear coordinates that that's station 890.086. So I'm going to start a line at that station. So I click the place line, I type in 890.86, enter, and I want to start it at 5265, so I'm going to lock in the elevation at 5265, enter, and I'm going to click the apply button. And what that does is it places a point on the line right at that station. Next, I can go ahead and, let's say, continue a slope of 0.5%. So I'm going to go 0.5, and I'm going to key in a distance of 220 feet. And I'm going to go to the left-hand side of that midpoint. And that'll carry me, if you can see in the file, that's going to carry me to the back to the beyond the parking lot in front of the building. And then I'll do the other side, place line. This time I'll just tend it to the end point of that blue line, and I'll go down for 260 feet. So I'm going to lock in a length of 260. And that carries me beyond the parking lot on the other side of the building. And then I can simply connect the dots by placing a line from one endpoint to the other endpoint of the lines that I placed up at the beginning and ending of my entrance road. And that kind of places the tangents, or my vertical tangents. Next, I'm going to do some curves. So I'm going to place some profile curves, and I'm going to lock in a length. In this case, I'll lock in a length of 60, and I'll just zoom in to the first VPI point, essentially. And what this tool allows me to do is put a profile curve between two existing profile elements. So in this case, this element, I'll select it, accept it. The other tangent, I'll select that and accept it, and it constructs a profile curve between them. So I'll accept it, and it'll trim the tangents back and put a curve in. And I'll continue to do that on each side. So other side, and then of course in the middle, where we come in front of the building, and then at the edges of the parking lot, I'll extend the length to 160 feet on each side. So select a tangent, accept it, select a tangent, accept it, and it'll construct the curve. And then finally, I want to store this information in the coordinate geometry. So I'm going to click the Store Vertical Alignment tool, It wants Kogo to be active. I'll click OK, select my job. I'll minimize that, and I'll click the Store Vertical Alignment icon again. Now that Kogo's open, I don't get prompted. I'll give it a name. I'll call it Intran DES. I'll select one of the elements I drew. So I selected a curve in this case with a data point. I'll data point again, or left click to accept it. And then I'll go ahead and accept the creation of the profile into Kogo. And so inside Kogo, it's created that profile called Intran DES and all its pertinent information. So that's how we store a single-line profile. Next, we'll look at creating the cross-section information and pushing that surface, or creating the full roadway surface.